All right, what's good, everyone? This is Dr. Nii, host of Docs Outside the Box. I am joined by
Dr. Renée. RENEEDARKO.
like a SpaghettiO type commercial or something. What is this?
No. You don't know where that's from?
Yeah, MICKEYMOUSE.
Yeah. Where'd we come from?
Oh, yeah, because we were just in Disney.
That's right.
But everyone, this is another episode of Docs Outside the Box. We are so excited that you guys have joined us. Shout out to everyone who's watching us on YouTube. Shout out to everyone who's listening to us with your favorite podcast player. If you're driving into work, if you're working out, if you are, I don't know.
Cleaning up.
If you're operating while you're listening to this, if you're writing damn clinic notes and you... It's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, and you still writing clinic notes. Like, God damn it, man! I gotta remember everything from that person I saw at 9 in the morning, man. What did I do? Did I get a potassium on them? Did I ask orthopedic surgery to get that potassium? God damn!
Leave those orthopods alone.
But everyone, we're excited to be here. So listen, you can't tell because you're just listening to episodes and you're seeing how they come out. But yo, it's a very non-linear way in which we record episodes.
To say the least.
There are times when we batch episodes. There are times when we record and then 48 hours later the episode comes out. All we are saying is right now it's been at least a good 2 to 3 weeks since we've actually recorded together in the studio. And I'm excited to be here. We got the lights on. We got the camera going. We got all the stuff. I love being down here. It's a great experience. I love recording with you. We got that energy. So
yeah.
I'm mad hyped.
I'm hyped too. I got to sneeze. Can I sneeze?
Yeah, go ahead and sneeze. You can go ahead and sneeze.
Now it's not going to come because I said I had to sneeze. But all right, keep going.
But if I keep going, it'll come up.
It'll come, yeah.
So, all right. So listen, folks, remember Docs Outside the Box. This is a fusion of money, medicine, and pop culture. Now, this episode is going to be about spending. This is one of the money traps that doctors can overcome to stop being burnt out.
Yep,
so we're going to talk about number 5, right?
Number 5.
So we're going to be talking about spending. We're going to be talking about lifestyle creep in a fun way. But I think it's apropos that we're talking about this episode once we... Yeah. You like my vocab?
I love that.
Well, yeah. So it's apropos that we're talking about this as we got back from our 1-week vacation in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And then we spent 48 hours at Disney. And goddamn, the wallet. Yo. Disney and their marketing is no joke, yo. Everything is like $15 or $30 or multiples of $15. It is crazy. And our son got us, yo. He took us for a paper, man.
Yeah.
All these toys that we got that he's gonna end up breaking.
Yep. Balloons. A balloon costs $15. And then you can't even bring it on the plane.
You can't even bring it on the plane. So they can only enjoy it for like 48 hours. And then that's it. Unless you're driving down.
Right. Which is a different story, but we weren't.
Right. You're driving up, but we flew. So we flew down to Florida. We saw your family and, the Miami, Fort Lauderdale,
West
Palm Beach area. And then from there, we drove up to Orlando.
Yep.
And we were there in Disney and just all the... everything that's Disney and, you were enjoying it and I'm thinking about money. I'm like, I'll spend money on this.
Oh, please. You had a good time. Stop playing.
I'll spend money on this.
Stop playing. We got to Magic Kingdom. First of all, we went to Animal Kingdom first. And you were kind of like, this is cool. This is cool. You're like, oh, can we go? And I'm like, wait, let's kind of enjoy. We had the park hopper. Tickets.
Expensive.
Anyway. And we went over to Magic Kingdom.
Expensive.
And this guy's face lit up when he saw the castle.
So it's been realistically probably close to like 39 years since the last time I was in Disney. My parents took me when I was, I want to say 5 or less. And I can't remember. There's some pictures. But that was the last time I've ever been to Disney. Every other time that, Disney has come up, it's been in a commercial, Super Bowl at the end, or, when you wish upon a star, where you going? I'm going to Disneyland. I just won the moment in the Super Bowl, right? That's the only time that I've since then. So it was great to go to Magic Kingdom. But I'm not going to front. It was expensive as hell.
It was expensive.
From the flights we did Airbnbs to keep the price down.
Yeah.
Food was expensive there. But it was expensive. It was really expensive.
Yeah.
And, the thing that we did is, this is our first vacation really in about 10 years?
No, is it about 10 years? Well, that's true. Our first vacation in 10 years where we didn't have anything specific to do with like a conference or medical, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So outside of our honeymoon, actually, this is the first trip that we've taken where we just took a vacation just to take vacation.
Yeah, we have not done that, and I'm not going to front, like, we are not good at that. Like, we balance is something that we need to get better at. But the most important thing with this vacation is we paid for it cash, right? And we went into our savings, and we just decided that it's not going to be put on any credit cards unless specifically it's like for a rental car. Right. And then we know we're going to pay it back like a week later, which is what we're going to do, right? We did a rental car because the rental car, the American Express card we have has, insurance on it so that they don't get you for your paper when you get to the checkout, line for your car rental. Yep. So they have all of those different things. And, that's a very powerful thing to be able to pay for things. The question, though, is what happens when you are going on Disney multiple times a year? Or when you're going on Disney multiple times a year or multiple times every year. Actually, no, let me fix it. When you're going to Disney when you're going to Disney every year, but then you still got like student loans, you still got like multiple expenses. And I think that a lot of people, when you become a physician, they just think that you are like an ATM machine, that you have money coming in, which is true. In comparison to, I think, most people, doctor's salary does really, like, it's really good. Yeah. Right? Like, I remember when I was finishing school, when I was finishing residency, in my head, and I talked about this on another episode, I wanted to get an Audi. This car that I wanted was a cherry red Audi S5. That's what I wanted. Yeah. Which was roughly about $57,000. I didn't know really the difference between leasing and buying, so I wanted to buy it. Right. Which realistically, I probably would have ended up getting like a 3 or maybe 5 year financing, right? Because I wasn't going to pay for it cash because I didn't have the money to get it cash. Right. I wanted a really nice home, right? An expensive home, right? Okay. And based off of expensive, like, that for me would determine if it's nice or not. Okay. Not if it was aesthetically pleasing. Like a $200,000 aesthetically pleasing home for me would not be good enough. It'd have to be expensive to make it good enough.
So
which is
like
stupid.
A $500,000 higher? Come on, man.
My mind was warped, man. Look, man, all of this stuff is based off of delayed gratification, right? You're like, when I become a doctor, I want to be more than comfortable, right? I want to be more than comfortable. I put in all this time. I'm sacrificing my 20s and a portion of my 30s, right? Like, there's gonna be like dollar bill. There's gonna be a bag waiting for me at the end. Yeah. Right. Yeah,
but the question is, who dipping into that bag?
Yeah, but you're not thinking about that. Right. You're not thinking about that at the time. You're thinking about vacations. Right. How many vacations am I gonna go? I'm gonna go to Italy. I'm gonna go to Switzerland. I'm gonna go to all these different places. South Africa. We're gonna do all these different things. Putting people on, right? Like I'm gonna put my mom on. I'm gonna put my dad on. I'm gonna put my cousin on. I'm gonna put my wife on, possibly. You know what I'm saying?
I better be on.
My sister, my cousin, TT, Shasha, all the people down at 7-Eleven. Everybody's going to get put on. And then last but not least, I wanted a trophy wife.
Well, you definitely did not get that.
Nails, her, bags, right?
You did not get a trophy wife, let me tell you.
Well, basically what I'm saying is that, you bring in a significant amount of money as a physician, like serious money. Yeah. But what I just mentioned to you is something that's really realistic. A lot of people, when they graduate, they think about all the things that they've been deferring for a long period of time. And as soon as they get their first check as an attending, their first multiple six-figure salary attending paycheck, now we're talking about, all of these things kick in. And if you're making, let's say, $300,000 or $350,000 or $200,000, like, you got to give a third of that
to Uncle Sam.
And then you got to live off of some of that. Like, how much money are you really keeping? How much money are you really building? Bag? Well, but a lot of people are like, but like I can live off of this. I can make this work. And I don't know. So what I just mentioned is lifestyle creep, basically, just to lead, like, to I feel like I'm kind of going down this meandering road, but basically what I am getting at is the biggest issue is spending as well as lifestyle creep. You feel like because you've made a certain amount of money and you start getting certain raises, definitely a big raise from being a resident to becoming an attending.
Because you make more, you should get more. Right. Basically.
Like you was eating ramen noodles.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I need to be shopping at Whole Foods.
Right. Exactly. So just because you make more doesn't necessarily mean that you need to spend more, that you need to get more, that you need to, live a certain way. So, what they call keeping up with the Joneses, right? Which a lot of people, I think aspire to, kind of like you did. And a lot of people eventually end up doing. But what ends up happening is that once you start living like the Joneses, right? Here's the thing about the Joneses. On the outside, it looks great. But on the inside, you suffering, right? You start to go down this road of, hold on a second, I got all this stuff, and now I can't actually afford it, right? And so you end up going on credit cards, taking lines of credit from other things, maybe from your house, maybe from your $500,000 $1 million house, whatever it is, right? Yeah. So you start taking lines of credit. You might have kids and you decide you want to give your kids everything. You're going to buy your kids the latest.
My kids got to go to private school.
Right. They got to go to private. My
kids got to go to this college.
Exactly.
Knowing damn well that they can go to med school or whatever.
I got to buy my kids a brand new car. I got to buy my kids a phone when they're 5. I got to, so you start doing all of these things to basically solidify a status. Right?
Well, so you make a good point, and I think the best way I could describe it is when you don't have money, you want money so bad that you actually don't realize, like, if you are making $20 an hour, or if you're making $15 an hour, and all of a sudden you are getting $100,000 check, or you're getting paid equivalent to $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000, yes. That is a lot of money. That is a huge amount of money that you can work with. But then all of a sudden it's like, well, how likely are you to keep those same behaviors that you had when you were making $10 an hour, $15 an hour, to now you're making multiples of that? Like, what's the likelihood of that? And I think that was the big wake-up call for me, which was, you can afford all of those things, but literally every 2 weeks, the amount of money that you're bringing in from operating and staying up late and all these different things are going to pay for that lifestyle.
Right.
And the things that I may have really wanted, but I didn't know how to verbalize, I didn't know how to realize, savings and investing and, the ability to say no. Those are the things that were really important to me. I had no idea how to even I didn't even know how to even save up. I didn't even know any of that stuff. I just knew how to spend, and that's crazy. So before we move on to the next point about this, is just real quick, just to give some perspective. So Medscape released a survey. I mentioned this in a show before, and they surveyed 13,000 physicians in 29 specialties, and this is to detail how physician compensation changed in 2021. Obviously, COVID, the pandemic, played a big role in salaries, and income stagnated in 2020, obviously due to COVID-19, but it's starting to make a comeback. But let's be realistic. So physicians overall earned on average about $339,000, right? If you're in primary care, that is $260,000. And then if you're a specialist, you are in the $368,000 range. Okay. Now, by specialty, the highest compensation by specialty is obviously the heavy hitters. Plastic surgery, $576,000. Orthopedic surgery, $557,000. Cardiology, otolaryngology, urology, gastroenterology, all of these things, specialties, up until we get to general surgery, you guys are all in the 400,000s. And then everything below that, we're talking about ER, critical care, OB-GYN, pathology, PM&R, you're in the mid 300s. Once we get into allergy and immunology, rheumatology, psychiatry, internal medicine, you're averaging below 300,000, right? Now, the interesting thing is self-employed physicians and moonlighters.
Okay.
Right. So self-employed physicians on average $385,000 they're averaging, and employed doctors are $320,000. So if you continue to like make the averages based on if you're employed or based off of your specialties, you can make the numbers kind of work whichever way you want to work. The key thing is that what I want people to understand is, and one thing, let me before we even get to that point, who earns more, men or women? Y'all know the answer to this already.
Man.
Right? Men among specialists who earn more, men $402,000 they're averaging. Women,
even though women get better outcomes, but whatever.
$307,000, right? So, I think it's very interesting to see from these things, though. Even if you go as high as plastic surgery, like there's nothing here that says plastic surgeons are making $1 million a year.
Right. Well, these are averages, though.
These are averages, right?
Okay, right.
And we all are average. Can we stop acting like...
I don't know about you, but I'm the best goddamn OBGYN there ever was.
All right, well, so you're making more... Okay, well, I don't want to say that number, but okay. Well, anyway, listen. All I'm saying is this. We got to base the data off of the averages, right? Ain't nobody making over $1 million on average. As a plastic surgeon, an orthopedic surgeon, or even as a neurosurgeon.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is where's all this money? Like all this money that everybody's like hoping to get for this bag, it's there, but it's not as big as we all think it is. So you have to be more of a steward with your money.
Right. I mean, so look, I think part of it is that a lot of us go into medicine and we're actually not spending a lot of money before we go into medicine, right? So we don't even know how to spend money, right? So you go from high school to undergrad. I mean, really, like, what money are you really spending, right? You went from getting an allowance, maybe having like a little job or something, maybe a little something in the summer, right? You're not buying major things. You're not buying a car. You're not buying a house. You're not doing any of those things. So you don't even know how to spend money. So you don't even understand what your behavior is going to be at the end of the journey, right? The first time you really start making any real money, which is not real money, but it's more than what you got before, and it's pretty consistent, is in residency, right?
For a lot of people, that's their first job.
Right. For a lot of people, their first job is doctor. They've never had any other job before. What was your first job? I was a doctor. Okay, great. Right? So that's the first time that you're getting a paycheck for many people out there. That's the first time they're getting a paycheck very consistently. And it's a paycheck that they're like, oh man, like I've never seen this number before, which is why a lot of residents go out and do what? They buy a house during residency, not realizing, right? Like you.
I did that.
Okay, like you. And as a matter of fact, I saw that old TikTok that you did.
Yes.
And you made it an Instagram post.
Yeah.
And there were two people who were doctors who asked the question, wait a minute, why did you say don't buy a house your first year of residency? Right? They didn't understand, like, why? Why not buy a house?
Because you don't know the neighborhood.
Not just you don't know neighborhood. Dude, you don't know what money is. You don't know what money is yet. Like, you have no clue how money works, right? And so you start spending it because that's for many people how they think money works. Money works by you make it, then you spend it. They think that's how money works. And that money is basically infinite, that it will just keep coming because I got this job, I got job security, so I'm going to just keep spending until one, you ain't got no job security no more. You get laid off, you get fired, something happens. Yeah. Number two, a pandemic hits. They tell you, well, we don't really need you because you're not an essential worker. Number three, you get disabled, right? Like, oh, all that money you done spent on a whole bunch of stuff, you should have been spending it on disability insurance, right? Number four, you die. Now, you may not understand the repercussions of that, but trust me, your family will. You should have been spending your money on life insurance, right? Or worst, number five, you spend that money and you got all this stuff and now you ain't got no more money. And people are still coming after you because you owe them money, because you spent more than what you have.
It's pretty shocking that you kept
the worst.
You kept track of all that numbers in your head, because I couldn't keep track of all the numbers. So
Yeah,
you got up to
I use my fingers.
You use your fingers and you got up to 5.
4, 5. Yes.
Sheesh. So you really were ready to say all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think the thing that I keep thinking about is like, you remember that Martin episode where it was Christmas? Wait, I think it was Martin episode where Martin goes back to talk to his elementary school, the one with Miss Trinidad.
Oh yeah, Miss Trinidad, Beverly Johnson.
And it was career day, and the kids are asking Martin as well as Cole and Tommy like what they do for a living, and then it says how much you get paid. So I think about like with doctors nowadays, like if someone asked me to come back, like would it be disappointing if someone asked like what do you do and how much you get paid? And I'm like, well, actually, the biggest flex is like me being able to say no. They're gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about, man? What kind of car you driving? What
they won't understand.
They won't get it.
They won't get it because spending money is a status symbol. If you can afford this, or not even if you can afford it, if you look like you can afford it, or if you can acquire it, right? If you can acquire this thing, however you're going to acquire it, whether it's through credit, whether it's through cash, whether it's you borrowed money from your, from your mama, like wherever, as long as you can acquire it, then all of a sudden it's a status symbol. So
Doximity has annual compensation. So this is a different one. Neurosurgery, $773,000. Thoracic surgery. I can't believe thoracic surgeons are still getting paid this much. Anyway, $684,000 for real. Orthopedic surgery, damn it, $633,000. Plastic surgery, $556,000. Vascular surgery, oral maxillofacial. Where's general surgery and all that?
Keep going lower.
Right.
Keep going lower.
But for real, I mean, I understand what you're saying. And I think, back then, the flexes for me back then would have been something status related, and now it's the ability to say, I don't want to do that. And no could be in so many different, is an answer to so many different questions of, can you take extra call, or can you do this, or can you do that? And, I tend to, take less now, less of an income in order for me to have more of the lifestyle that I want, which Medscape also did a survey on and showed that a lot more doctors wish they could say no. And would be willing to take less in salary to do that. So,
right.
I think that the ability to say no is the ultimate flex. Obviously, it's going to require you to have some money, some bread, some moolah, and so forth. Like kind of just saving this stuff up so that if you have to change positions or you're going to be unemployed for some time because the other party is going to be like, well, that's not good for me also. And then you have to walk away from the table, with nothing. At least you have something saved up. So that's how I feel about it. And these think about it, like just even something as small as subscription services. Right? Like YouTube TV. Then you throw in Hulu. Like for me, that's the problem. I feel like all the things that we were, excited about 5 years ago about getting rid of cable, like we're back to cable again now.
Yeah, but I said that a long time ago. Yeah. The other thing that, we got to think about also is when people are, in a relationship, right? And one person is spending and the other person is not, right? And how that impacts the ability to do certain things, right? So, you have somebody who, is a saver, but then you have somebody who is, a crazy spender. It's like, well, how do you reconcile the two? That's something that when we were, when we were doing Keeping Up with the Narcos a long time ago.
That's a different episode.
That's a whole different beast right there.
Yeah.
Like when you're financially incompatible with somebody, that can really, really cause a major problem.
Especially if that other person may not be in a professional setting and they've watched you sacrifice and they're like, all right, now it's time for the come up, and they're like, slow down.
Yep.
We still got to pay off debt.
Yep.
We still got to build a savings.
Yep.
They're like, man, hey, what?
That was, that reminds me of Girlfriends.
No.
Remember that show?
I remember Girlfriends, but I didn't watch Girlfriends.
Yeah, so Girlfriends, that's what happens to Tony. She marries a doctor. When she marries a doctor, she's like, she's ready to do all this kind of stuff. And he's like, I got student loans. And she's like, wait, what? You got student what?
Yeah. Someone's coming knocking.
Right.
Someone is coming knocking.
So, somebody's coming to knock at your door. So, it's important to, obviously figure out, where you're going to work, how much you're going to get paid. But you also have to be thinking about, what you're going to be spending that money on. You know what I mean?
Well, I think part of it too is a lot of folks go into things blindly, particularly looking for a job. They go into looking for a job blindly, and it's just, well, what are your co-residents doing? What are your fellows doing? And you kind of just go to job boards,
right?
And you look for jobs, and you're just like, okay, this is what they're offering.
Or you get that email.
Right. You get an email from a headhunter.
Big figure.
And it's a big figure, but it's in relation to what? You don't know, right? You don't know if maybe being in the Northeast, you're going to get paid one rate versus being in the Southeast versus being in another part of the United States. So, I think that that's a big hurdle that I think a lot of residents, fellows, even attendings have to be able to understand is that, listen, like I don't know where you're going to get this database and get all this information from, but it's not going to just pop up in your head.
Right.
And some people can't even afford MGMA information. That's expensive, right? That's a hella big database that you got to pay for. Yeah. So, I think that we've teamed up with St. John's, right? St. John St. John Associates. I think that they are, offering particularly orthopedic surgeons, an opportunity to kind of understand the landscape of being recruited, the landscape of looking for a job. They've done this for over 30 years. We're teaming up with them mainly because we're all about empowerment.
Right.
And any type of company that's going to give more power to the doctors, we're here for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they definitely have had, a pretty long-standing history of working with doctors. But again, right, we've kind of talked about this in different episodes, and we're talking about it again because all of this is related, is that do not get shopped around to
you talking about your CV?
Yeah, don't get shopped around to different jobs. Yeah. Right? If you have not given your consent, right? And that's what I like about St. John Associates is that they're not shopping you around, which again, we talked about how that behavior could actually impact how much you even get paid.
So let's clarify that to other people. So shopping around means that, some recruiters may take your CV and without your permission, give your CV to a hospital and then another hospital and to another hospital without your permission.
Right.
And you may be thinking, well, that's their job. They're supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
Well, they got to get your permission first to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And if they don't get your permission and they shop it around, then what happens is let's say you are looking for a hospital. The hospital will be, well, we've already gotten your CV.
Yep.
And the only way we can have any type of relationship is for you to go through such and such recruitment company.
Exactly. Which cuts into how much you potentially could get paid.
Right.
So,
and then you can't get Hulu.
You can't get Hulu.
And then you can't get YouTube TV. And then you got Disney Plus.
Right. And they get also St. John Associates gets paid on contingency. So speaking about spending, right? If you are going to spend money looking for a job, at least get a job, right? Yeah. So that's what I like about them because you don't pay them unless you actually have a match for a job. And that to me is really important because you could be throwing your money away, with potentially, other agencies who don't necessarily work on contingency. And next, you didn't even get a match.
Well, I think also too, a lot of doctors get really hesitant about that also. They're just like, well, what do you mean I got to pay something up front? Like they barely even want to get a lawyer to look at their stuff. So, the fact that you can worry about that after you get a job, I think is something that you guys can feel really calm about.
Exactly.
I do think you guys should get a lawyer to look at your account.
Exactly.
You should pay that. You should pay that amount.
You should pay that amount. Absolutely.
So why don't you just quickly tell them where they can get connected?
Yeah.
With St. John
pretty much St. John. They're big into ortho, but they do a lot. They do actually all the specialties. So they're not tied
specialties that replace potassium.
Specialties that replace potassium as well, and put people on their own services. So they do all the specialties.
If you got an isolated tip-hip fracture ortho, you can admit that, okay?
So go to stjohnjobs.com/docs, okay? And check them out there so that you guys can, get familiar with St. John Associates. I think you'll have a really good experience with them. But I did want to talk really quickly about spending on the right things versus spending on the wrong things. And so you mentioned, not wanting to spend on an attorney, for example, right? So, people will spend money on
I know where you're going with this. This is a really good point. Yeah.
People will go and spend money on things that are going to give them zero return, or that's just going to indebt them even more.
Let me get an Audi S5.
Right? Yeah, let me get an Audi S5 when I could have gotten a Pinto and still gotten to work.
With the rims.
Still gotten to work.
I was going to get it with the black and red
the same
stitched
way.
Interior and everything.
Yeah, I'm sure you were, Nee, but you didn't get
with
the Audi
exhaust,
S5.
with the exhaust on it.
Yeah.
And I still was tripping on getting a lawyer. I was like, man, I ain't paying no $600 for no lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Exactly. But that's the thing, right?
It's stupid.
It's
yeah.
okay. Look, listen, I don't want people to leave here thinking, oh, these damn darkos, they so, they're so cheap. They don't want to spend money on stuff. I'm all for spending money, but spend money on things that make sense. Spend money on things that are going to give you some sort of return, some sort of satisfaction beyond I'm just going to get it, right? Because if you sign a contract and you didn't have an attorney look at it, there are so many red flags potentially that you could have missed, that you think that big dollar sign that they put in front of you in that contract is like the end all be all. Let me tell you something. One, that big dollar sign could literally be like just, the bait.
Yeah, it could be 30% below what you probably should be getting.
Exactly.
Right?
It could be 30% low.
That $600 or that $1,000 that you may spend to have someone review your contract probably could get you multiples, like maybe 10, 20% more, which can get you those vacations, can get you that Audi S5, can get you them Jordans, can get you all those things that you want.
Some Jordans.
But rather than spend money on that, just get VTI.
Oh, Lord. It's
been like several episodes since I did that. Alfred, hook it up. Put that in the, what do you call it? Put that in the show notes, Joe. Rather than get Jordans and the Audi, right? You can get VTI. If you get VTI owns Nike.
Okay, well.
I think VTI also owns, I'm sure it owns VW.
Okay, well, now you can get all the things you ever wanted.
Oh, yeah.
In an index fund.
VTI, guys. Index funds.
Very good. No, it's seriously, people are spending money on things that are not going to give them any return. Other thing about a contract, right? You thinking I'm going to save money because they're going to give me a sign-on bonus. And what do? You spend that bad boy. Spend that bad boy.
What else are you supposed to do with that?
Exactly. You go and spend that sign-on bonus before you even know whether or not you like this place.
Yeah.
Right? So it's all about the behavior, right? Like, I want this, I want that, I want this. And so you see money and you spend money.
Yeah, that's impulse purchasing or impulse behavior.
Exactly. Impulsive behavior. Yeah. And you spend that money, and people might be listening and be like, well, what's wrong? What's wrong with spending your sign-on bonus? The problem is that your sign-on bonus usually is just a loan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so my sign-on bonus actually was written into the contract, and at the end it said a promissory note.
Right.
So what that meant is my sign-on bonus, yes, it was a sign-on bonus, but it actually was a loan. Mm-hmm. And it was paid back through service. Mm-hmm. So every year that I completed a contract, so I had a 3-year contract, every year that I completed that contract went towards fulfilling this loan that they gave me initially as a bonus. Yep. If I left early, then they would prorate how much I would owe based on it. So if I owed if I left after a year, then, 2/3 of that sign-on bonus would be payable, possibly with interest. Mm-hmm. And you can take it from there. So
exactly.
Just want to let y'all know how this works.
Yeah. So you got to be able to understand how money actually works. Like what implications does spending money actually have on your life. And I think, like I'm talking very, very passionately about it. But the reason I'm talking about it,
you are kind of passionate about it today.
I am pretty passionate today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of like scolding, but it's not scolding your audience.
2 on the 10. Like
it's not scolding the audience. It's actually scolding my own self, right? Or my old self. Is that, I didn't realize how money actually worked. Like I was fortunate enough that I wasn't necessarily a spender. Mm-hmm. Like that was the thing, about me. I wasn't necessarily a spender. I didn't spend a lot of money on things that I didn't need. But I do think that I did spend more money than I needed to on things that I needed. You know what I mean? So for me, it was just
shocking.
Kind of
this is a shock, guys.
Why is that a shock?
This is a shock because I've said this to you all the time that you always find the most expensive solution for a problem. And I'm like, we could find a cheaper solution for the problem, and you say no, and then it's until this show comes out. Listen, I think we're gonna have to start airing out. I think we're gonna have to start airing out our issues on the show, because obviously when we air our issues on our show, like your mind, like the more sensible side of your mind,
right?
Also, the cheaper side of your mind starts to kick in, because when we not on this podcast,
really,
every solution that you have is way more expensive than when you on this show, and you be fronting, and you know it's true. You guys hear my voice go up, right?
No,
it's the truth.
That is not true, Nee. That is not true.
Shall I give example? We don't have time for examples.
Yeah, go ahead. Give an example.
We don't have time for examples.
Go give an example.
Guys,
we talk about spending, right?
Guys, listen. Let's wrap this up with some tips. You have already started with the tips, but the biggest thing is obviously...
Let me give you a Caribbean...
All right.
How long was that? That was pretty long.
Alfred, give a sound effect for that.
Yeah, put a countdown, Alfred, on that.
So listen, let's get into some tips that can help folks who are getting, you're new to money and, you're not sure exactly what to do with this money. I think the number one thing where money goes by the wayside is housing. Yeah. Number one is housing, right? Whether you are a resident.
No, I think it's food.
No, I think it's money. Or excuse me, I think it's housing. So it's my tip. You could do your tip later on. My tip is keep your costs, your housing costs, 25 or less than 25% of your income. Yeah, so what that means is whatever your rent is, please make sure that is at least less than 25% of whatever you're getting on a monthly basis. Man, if you can keep it less than 25, what you're doing on 2 weeks, go ahead and do that. But for me, that was my main issue. I had so much, like my house cost so damn much in comparison to my check that I didn't even have time to buy like money to buy like a couch or anything like that.
You can afford utilities.
I could get utilities, but I didn't even have a nice couch.
You didn't even want to turn on the lights. Turn on the lights.
No, for real. But you guys get the point. So that's my thing. I think the biggest cost is housing. Try to keep it less than 25% of your net. That's true. I know it's true. Of your net income of what your total amount is. I think overall, this is where the foo-foo side is. But for real, guys, let's think about what makes you happy, right? Like, do you really need a Porsche Taycan? Do you really need
foo-foo? That's frou-frou.
Fruit, whatever it is, man.
What you eating?
Listen, are you like? Am I gonna be able to say my point, or are you just gonna
do your tips?
Thank you.
But it's not foo-foo. Foo-foo is what you eat.
All right, whatever. Porsche Taycan, vacations, the $1 million house. Back to the point that we've heard a bunch of times, which is you can afford anything as a physician, and even as a resident, you can afford anything, right? You just got to be smart about it. But can you afford everything?
Yeah, that's Paula Pant.
Right? You can't afford everything. You got to be smart with what you're doing. You can get the Porsche, but maybe you're going to have to hold off on that vacation until several years. And you're definitely not going to be able to get that $1 million house unless, you ain't going to be able to get that $1 million. I don't suggest that, right? And then if you get a raise, this is the most important thing. If you get a raise. So the biggest one is if you get a raise, obviously from being your first year to your second year to your third year. Right. Residents always get a raise depending on what PGY level you are. Hey, use some of that extra money that you wasn't expecting to put towards debt. Use some of that money to put and increase your emergency savings. And then obviously the biggest one is when you jump from being a resident to becoming an attending. You're going to go in multiples of what you made as a resident. Right. I'd say, listen, put a percentage or a portion of it into savings, pay off some debt, pay off a bunch of your debt if you can. And invest in stocks if you can, right? VTI, hook it up.
Index funds.
Or real estate. And the reason I mention that is you want your money to start working just as hard as you're working, right? Like there's no point in putting your money in a savings account and you've been like, remember those days when you'd stay with me in the call room and like you wouldn't see me from the beginning of the call until 24 hours later, and I'm like sweating because I've been in an OR the entire time. You go home, you sleep, you rinse, wash, and repeat, and then you go and put whatever you make. You get like less than 1%, APY, in a savings account. Like you don't want that, right? So you want your money to work just as hard as you do.
What you just had Ronnie Shalev on, Dr. Ronnie Shalev, and she said something.
Shout out to Ronnie,
she said she's all into syndications and real estate and stuff, and she said so. She was like, that the savings account is the silent killer. I was like, dang.
Yeah, she's true.
Wow. I was like, yo, the savings account is the hypertension of money.
That was me.
That's crazy.
You try to get like this huge savings account and it makes you feel great.
Episode 305.
But it's not making anything. Can you believe we're at 305 already?
Yeah, 305.
First of all, everybody who listened in the month of July. How many episodes did we put out in
Oh
July?
God, too many.
We put out like 13 episodes in July. We were just on one.
Yeah.
Right? We just wanted to just record and put things out. And we're also experimenting to see how many episodes would people listen to.
Yeah.
But thank you everyone for listening to all those episodes.
Yeah.
So is there anything you want to add to any of these tips? I think we kind of covered everything.
Yeah, but what I was gonna say.
Are you going to scold everybody again?
No, I'm not gonna scold everybody again.
Keep it quick. Keep it quick.
I'm gonna tell you like the old me, right? Like, so when you talked about the PGY, 1, 2, blah, blah, blah. So I got my raise. Here's the problem. In my PGY 1 year, I saw this apartment. I really, really liked this apartment, right? You saw that apartment. It had like the loft or whatever. And so I really liked this apartment, but it was more expensive than I actually need. Like I didn't need all of that. So when I became a PGY 2, I actually went to another apartment that was cheaper within the same complex. And I was able to save a little bit more money that way.
I did not like your apartments in residency.
Well, whatever.
Your
you weren't living there.
Well, I didn't think, it's not like I thought that the one with the loft was better. There's just something, I don't know, why'd you choose that area? There wasn't like, why'd you choose that area? It was off of Route 1. I know
it was nice. It was secluded. I wasn't bothered. It was quiet.
But the apartment, like it was just dark.
I don't know.
I didn't like it.
Well, whatever. You didn't have to live
Plus, you had an air mattress for a couch.
Yeah. I did. I had an air mattress for a couch.
Hey,
well, let me tell you that was a conscious decision. Actually,
no, it wasn't. You just didn't have time to get a couch.
No. That was a conscious decision.
Don't listen to her, everyone.
That was a conscious decision.
Christian,
because I actually went furniture
don't listen
shopping.
to her, Alfred.
Anyway,
don't listen to. Make some type of sound effects.
Whatever.
Give us the Price is Right.
Whatever. No. Wrong.
She lying. Don't listen.
I went furniture shopping, and I determined, I was like, dude, I'm never going to live in Jersey. Look where the hell I am now.
Living in Jersey. Enjoying it.
Anyway, give me another one, Alfred.
And on that note, everyone, this concludes this episode of Docs Outside the Box. We was talking about money trap number 5, spending
way
and
too damn much.
Lifestyle creep. Sorry about the lecture, the scolding from Dr. Renee, but she was on it. She was on one. But listen, guys, this episode is for y'all. We love this. If you really enjoy this episode, or even if you don't feel this episode, make sure you click on the show notes. There is a link for a survey that we have with INCROWD, where we're trying to really understand who you are, where you're from, where you're coming from, your background, and even what kind of episodes you like and don't like for the show. Yeah. All of this makes our show better. Make sure you check out our sponsors on the sponsor page. And everybody, listen, we want to give a shout out to everyone on YouTube. Our YouTube subscriber count is steadily increasing. We appreciate it. Yep. We love everybody who's listening on the podcast, but listen, we're also trying to grow what we got on YouTube. Yeah. And we're super excited about that. So to everyone, we will catch you guys on the next episode of Docs Outside the Box.
Hey.